I see a good amount of folks join, so we can go ahead and get started with the meeting. Hi, everyone. My name is Laura Martinez. And yeah, good evening. Happy Wednesday. Happy May. And welcome to your 52nd CSC meeting. It was so wonderful being able to see some folks in the April in-person CSC meeting, and we're hoping to keep that momentum going for the meetings to come. As always, thank you all for your ongoing presence, input, and collaboration in the implementation of AB617 in the Stockton community. Again, my name is Laura Martinez, and today I'm joined by my colleague, Dr. Amy Ramos, and we are delighted to facilitate your session today. For today's agenda, it's really designed to offer an opportunity to reflect of our last in-person meeting and to discuss SERP implementation updates and quarterly air monitoring updates. Before we get started on the agenda, I'd like to go through some logistics. I do know that this is familiar to many of you, but it's always helpful to have a refresher since we just had an in-person meeting. So I will go ahead and share my screen. Okay, can you all see my screen? Yes, I see some head nods. Thank you. So before we get started with the agenda, please go ahead and mute yourself and make sure your full name and organization are showing as your screen name. To change your screen name, you can click on the top right of your picture and video in the 3 dots. Then it will come down as a drop down and click rename. And there you can rename yourself. CSC members, you can use the naming convention CSC first name, last. Residents are first name, last. And all other participants, please use your first name, your last name, and your affiliation. On the screen, it shows an example for AD or CARB, and then for P for the general public, and all other organizations, you can write your organization name. And meeting hosts may update your screen name during the meeting. And if you do need support with that, please reach out to either myself, Amy, Jessica, Rocio, or anyone in the Air District, and we can support you with that. You can link your phone audio to video by clicking on that little caret or that arrow right next to your microphone button. A drop down will show up and you can click switch to phone audio, and from there you can follow the steps, either join by phone call or call me, and you can switch or you can link your phone audio to your video. Again, for folks who may not have heard, please update your screen name. You can click on the top right of your picture and video. Again, CSC members, you should use the naming convention CSC first and last name. Residents are first name, last name. And again, we may update your screen name during the meeting for attendance purposes. That is particularly important for residents who are receiving their stipend, so we can make sure we are tracking your attendance here. For some virtual meeting etiquette, please stay on mute unless you're speaking or planning to speak. You can use *6 if participating by phone to mute yourself. Please raise your Zoom hand to ask a question during a presentation, question and answer. You can use *9 if you're participating by phone to raise your hand. Residents in the stipend program should stay for 75% of the meeting to be eligible for a stipend. That's 90 minutes of a 2-hour meeting. And please state your name before sharing a comment to allow for smooth interpretation of our conversation. And that's, to really ensure that folks have equitable access to the information and the comments that are being shared during today's meeting. Moving along to our group agreements, in order to have a productive discussion and respectful dialogue, we will help achieve the meeting goals by focusing on solutions, opportunities, and productive dialogue. We will also let everyone participate by stepping up and then stepping back. Being civil and respectful, it's okay to disagree, but please be respectful, empathetic, and civil. And staying on point and on time. Please keep comments brief and to the point. This will allow everyone enough time to participate. We will attack the problem, not the person, respectfully challenge people's ideas or outcomes, never the person themselves, and by honoring everyone's humanity and dignity. And we will also seek common ground by building consensus and finding shared values that will help achieve the best results. And to adhere to these group agreements, either myself or Dr. Amy Ramos will have to step in at times during conversations to ensure that we're following the agreements. So yeah, if that happens, we are more than happy to have a conversation with you if the way that we approach things may not be a respectful way, or yeah, something that you may not agree with. We always welcome that feedback and that discussion for our ongoing learning on how to best not interrupt, but interject in the conversation and make sure that we make space for everyone. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen for that. I do see some comments in the chat, so let me read that. Okay, that was AI. All right. Let's see. As mentioned, today's agenda is designed to offer an opportunity to reflect on our last in-person meeting and to discuss SERP implementation, updates, and quarterly air monitoring updates. And I apologize for maybe giving you a headache, but let me reshare my screen to go through the agenda with you all. So we are partaking in welcome and introductions. We'll then transition to reviewing the action items tracker, going through an in-person meeting debrief conversation, and then we'll transition to SERP implementation updates, get to hear some quarterly air monitoring updates, and then we'll do standing updates, wrapping up in next steps, and going to public comment. And with that, I will pass it to Jessica from the Air Districts for some welcoming remarks.
Hello, this is Jessica with the Air District. I'd like to welcome you all. It was so good to see so many of you and so many people besides the steering committee last month in Stockton. We had an incredible time, and I'm so excited to debrief about it and talk a little bit about it a little bit later. I just want to start off and let you know that even though we don't have a co-host for tonight's meeting, we did have Tanisha and Cynthia help us prepare a presentation. You'll hear a little bit about the air monitoring update and just gave us some good feedback. We also have folks from the city of Stockton here and folks from our incentives team here, just all of whom helped kind of create tonight's agenda based on your feedback. So I just appreciate all of the teamwork there from all of you and look forward to tonight's meeting. Thank you, Laura.
Laura, yeah, thank you, Jessica. And as she mentioned, we unfortunately don't have a community co-host tonight, but if you are interested in being a community co-host, you can always reach out to us, and just want to extend our gratitude to Dr. Farrell, I believe it was, and Margot for being co-host last month and in person. You all did a great job. So if you do have some hesitations, I'm sure they'll be I'm sure they'll welcome you to ask them any questions. All right, I think our next agenda item is reviewing the action items tracker. And Rocio will take you through the action items tracker, and that's really built for accountability between the Air District and what happens during CSC meetings. So the Air District continuously updates this tracker and ensures that your voices are heard and progress towards implementing your suggestions are being made. And as a reminder, we do track action items throughout the meeting. And during the end of every meeting, we do share these action items, and we encourage folks to add any that should be tracked. And as Rocio is providing updates, please feel free to ask for clarification. So I'll pass it to you, Rocio.
Thank you, Laura. This is Rocio. Hi, everyone. I also just want to say that it was super great seeing all of you in last month's in-person meeting. I know I had a chance to have great conversations with you, and I look forward to the next one that we get to have. And then I'll go ahead and share my screen to get started with the action items. I'm also going to drop the link in the chat in case folks want to follow along. Okay, Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. So we have some completed and ongoing action items from the last CSC meeting. So I'll get started with the completed action items. The first three action items were based off of questions and comments that were made from the last in-person meeting for the bike lane project. And we do actually have an update on this in today's presentation, so we'll be sure to share the responses to those later on today. And then moving on to the fourth action item was for the district to connect with UC Berkeley about partnering and coordinating referrals at an upcoming CSC event. And this event was actually the Stockton Unified Earth Day event that I believe took place on April 13th. And UC Berkeley encouraged folks that went to their table to come visit the district table to help sign folks up for the Clean Air Rooms program. So that was so fun to see because everyone got to walk away with their air purifier. And then moving on to the next action item was for the district to connect with the city official for community outreach opportunities. And so the Air District outreach team is going to make this connection in an upcoming event that we have in May. And more details on this event to come in the meeting today. Moving on to the next action item for the district to connect with Catholic Charities about possibly using their EJ segment spa on Unidos por Cristo y María station, just to share about the AB617 community events. And so the Air District outreach team has been connecting with Catholic Charities and super excited to announce that they will be on the Unidos por Cristo y María radio station on May 17th, and they'll be able to highlight some of the community events and all of the available grant programs that we have. And so the next action item was for the district to share information to CSC that they can distribute. So as always, if any CSC members would like to receive any flyers or pamphlets on any of the programs that we have, feel free to reach out to any of us and we'll be more than happy to share those with you. And the last completed action item for the district to reach out to the CSC and share information about the upcoming TCC Summit. So the Stockton Mobility Collective and Stockton Rising will be hosting an annual summit on June 5th. And if you want to see more information on this, we went ahead and provided the link right here. So feel free to click on that. And I'll pause right here. Margot, I do see your hand raised if you want to say your comment.
Yeah, go back to the radio station. I'm just curious, what is that going to be, like a 20-minute show? Is that going to be like a 2-minute commercial? What is that going to be? Do we know? Or is that still being worked on?
Thank you for
This is Cassandra from the Air District. I can go ahead and answer that. We're still working out those details and how long that segment's going to be, but it will not be a commercial. It will be a segment. Go ahead.
I have some input on this too. Usually it's a 30-minute spot that we have, a 30-minute segment. We're here with Catholic Charities. So it should be a 30-minute segment to talk about the programs, the incentives.
And does it roll once, Hector, or does it come up again at different times, or how does that work?
No, it's live. It's going to be live. So it's just going to, just a presentation over the air, a live presentation. It will be broadcast live over Facebook, and you can hear it, of course, on the radio stations, but just that one time.
Thank you.
This is Heather. Margot, if it all works out, and thank you, Hector, for making that contact for us. We hope to maybe, visit them more than just the one time, certainly, because we've got ongoing awesome things to discuss.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Margot, for that question, and Heather, Cassandra, and Hector for clarifying that. And I can move on to the next section of our action items, which is the ongoing.
Rocio, I see Doug's hand. If you can, sorry, pause. Doug, did you have a question for Rocio?
Yes. To clarify, mobile disabled. I wasn't aware of it. I'm a disabled person. I was not. I didn't get the memo about that. How did I get that information? And also, I believe this weekend in Cinco de Mayo. Have anybody went in? Because there's going to be a lot of people there for a 2-day weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Have anybody had the vendor for that as well too? And it's going to be on the Weber Point. So that is also a large gathering, as far as that concerned. And on June 7th, I didn't get that. What is that for? What?
Thank you, Douglas. Going back to your first question, I believe you wanted to know how the outreach is being done. Was it for the Cristo y Maria segment that's going to go on?
Is that going to be on? I think I heard he said that it will be live on Facebook, right? It has to be in person or not, right?
Yes, you are correct.
Okay. So has she already posted on Facebook, and where do I look for it? In her, it's going to be in the Catholic Charity or what?
So we can create a social media post and post it there. I could also send out, or we can send out the radio station link. So you can hear it through the radio, traditional radio, or you can go to their website and you
Wait, wait,
can
wait.
listen to it.
Hold on. What radio station? What's that?
I'll have to give you that information. I don't have it out. I'm
I'm
mobile
sorry.
right now, so I don't have it with me right now. But I'll have to get back to you.
Okay. So I believe the radio is closed. I think you're talking about the voice of Stockton.
No, this is based out of Modesto. It's broadcast in Stockton, though.
Oh, okay. I wasn't aware of it, so I'm sorry. Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
In June 7th, what is that? Next one.
Douglas, is this the one you're referring to? So there's going to be a Stockton Mobility Collective and Stockton Rising that are going to be hosting an annual summit, and this is on June 5th.
In Stockton, and where the location?
So we do have a link right here, and I'll go ahead and just click on it to see what information it gives us.
Okay,
So
perfect.
it looks
Thank
like
you.
the location is here as well as the date and the time.
Awesome. Thanks for the clarification. Thank you.
Of course. And then Douglas, did we answer all your questions, or did you have another question to answer?
That's pretty much it about the. I'm gonna wait for the other person that's gonna give me the information regarding the other event. I already got the link already, but anybody's not gonna have. We're not gonna have anything going on for the Cinco de Mayo this weekend. No advertisement or marketing for that. No.
We do have our outreach team here. Not sure if Heather or Cass want to answer this.
Hi, this is Cassandra. Yes. So no, we won't be there for Cinco de Mayo, but we will be there on the 18th. Pixie Woods is doing an event within the boundary. So we will be there present with air purifiers as well.
Okay, great. Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and move on to the last action item that's under ongoing. And so at the last in-person CSC meeting, the outreach team did get lots of great suggestions on where to make connections to further that outreach. And so they're continuously working to make those new connections and promote and distribute the information within the AB617 boundary. And that's all of the action items. I'm happy to pause for a second to see if anyone has any more questions. SB, go ahead.
I don't know if this part was, if you went over that and maybe I missed it, but for the Earth Day, was there a report out in terms of like how many people you all were able to outreach? Because since a lot of us were there, and I know that we were sending folks over to the table, their district table.
Hi, this is Cassandra. Yes, it was
it was very successful. They got to engage with a lot of people. It was really busy. It was a great day. So all in all, they were excited about the interactions that they were able to have with local residents.
Ms. Espy, thank you.
Thank you, SB and Cassandra. Is there any more questions from the CSC?
Laura, I do see a comment from Jennifer in the chat. So she said June 5th is also the AB617 meeting.
It is. And this is Jessica. The Stockton Mobility Summit looks like it ends before our meeting begins. So hopefully that does allow folks some time. We can maybe at the end, we can also discuss, recognizing that's a lot of time commitment for folks and recognizing that hopefully all of you have been invited to our June 22nd summit that the district plans to host in Fresno. We can talk a little bit about maybe that can be a pause, a moment for us to not host a meeting then. But yes, I noticed that as well. Thank you for putting that in the chat, that the same day as that summit is right now what is scheduled to be our typical first Wednesday, June CSC meeting.
Thank you, Jessica. This is Laura. Espe, I see you have your hand raised. Was that from your earlier question or did something else come up?
Sorry, yeah, that's earlier.
Okay, just making sure. Are there any other questions? Oh. I don't see any other questions in the chat, and I don't see any other hands raised. All right, thank you so much, Rocio. This is Laura. Thank you for taking us through the action items tracker and everyone for your questions. Now we'd like to transition to talking a little bit about the in-person meeting and having a debrief conversation. We'd we invite you to share what worked well, what can be improved, and something you're looking forward to after the in-person meeting. We really appreciate your feedback, and if you don't feel comfortable sharing your feedback, you can always privately message myself and Dr. Amy Ramos and provide your honest feedback about the in-person meeting. At this time I'd like to open up the conversation, and thank you, Amy, for posting the questions in the chat on what worked well, what can be improved, anything you were hoping to learn that you didn't, and what is something you are looking forward to after the in-person meeting. And as you're all sharing, Amy will be taking down some notes and hoping that we can use these learnings for future in-person meetings, as well as take these learnings for other community meetings in the San Joaquin Valley. Is there anyone who would like to start us off with what worked well about the meeting?
I'm happy to start the conversation, if that's okay with you. I was so grateful for the ports hosting us. It was nice to kind of share a different space, because I think not only did it provide opportunity for us to get a lot of work done, which we did, and we'll talk about in a minute, but also provided us kind of an opportunity to just kind of share the, maybe some progress that we've made and sort of the relationships that we've built, not only with each other, but with the port. And those of us that got to go on the tour, I was so grateful to just kind of put in perspective a lot of the discussions we've had over the past 4 years, as Douglas reminded us earlier on the call. So just grateful for that relationship building and for the location that we got to host.
Dr.
All right,
Farrell,
thank you, Jessica.
Dr. Farrell,
Hi, Dr. Brown.
I want to make a comment about the meeting. The gathering was terrific. The audience was really a gatherings of persons that have the air and the breathing and the preserving of the air with reducing pollution. As I spoke to several persons, and I think that the gathering brought together minds as well as personalities to move forward in a lot of items that is on the agenda for the CSC, and particularly the Stockton area. Stockton brings to us a variety of items such as, and when I use the word items, areas, whereas rail, the port, the highway structure, as well as the structure of our airport. This brings in pollution, and when there are fires in the hillside, it traps in the valley. And so it gives us idea to work with improving the quality of air and the quality of life for our community. That's what I took. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Farrell, for sharing your reflections. And I'm glad to hear that it was a great moment for you to be engaged with community members and like-minded people who want to fight for climate justice, air quality. I do see, Margot, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo what Dr. Farrell just said. The utilizing the port was lovely. They couldn't have picked better weather, so I truly appreciate that. I think the breakouts were good. I think, to me, some of it felt I think difficult as it is for an event like this, I think it would be good to have some kind of working effort in that. And whether that means more time, it wasn't feasible at this event, but I would like to see us when we get together actually brainstorming and figuring things out. And I appreciate the 3 topics that were chosen and going through them and dealing with what we dealt with, but I always keep hoping that we brainstorm a bit more, kind of like we do in the subcommittees. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's all. I just thought it was an excellent opportunity. I miss meeting people in person, and I'm glad it happened. Thank you.
Laura, thank you, Margot, for sharing your reflections. Douglas, I do see you have your hand raised.
I'm a little well, I'm glad that the other people enjoyed the event, but unfortunately, air quality to me have to do with people who have opportunity to take a don't take things for granted. You know what I mean? That are not able to go because they have asthma, either they can't breathe, either they have AFib, they cannot have access to those events, and they cannot get information. What can they do? And I was told that I was supposed to get some video promise. I was promised I was going to get that. I promised to get this. to see what's gonna be there. But obviously, I didn't receive any information about that. So accessibility and the air quality are not that deficient when it comes to reach out to the public and at the person with disability and then have a hard time mobility. This just just had it recently, like over 4 months. It's a big difference from breathing more good and not breathing at all. It's hard. Um, and just the stamina that you cannot walk too far in order to get some more air into in your lung. Um, so that's how I feel. It needs to be more conclusion, more accessibility to it. That's all.
This is Laura. Thank you, Douglas, for sharing and being vulnerable during this moment and sharing your reflections on what can be improved for future CSC meetings so that we can have an inclusive approach and have everyone attend. And I think that's something that we hope to do in the next meeting. Maybe have like a pre-meeting and ask if the location is okay for everyone, if it's accessible. And yeah, I really personally really thank you and appreciate you for being vulnerable and sharing that. And I think we can jot down as an action item if there was any either recordings or there's any notes that we can send to Douglas from previous meetings. We can personally send those to you, Douglas.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is Laura. Is there anything else coming up for folks of whether or on things that worked well, things that can be improved, or just any other general reflections before we transition onto our next agenda item? I don't see any hands raised or anything in the chat. However, this conversation doesn't have to be over now just because we're transitioning to another agenda item. Our messages are always open. You can feel free to email us if anything else does come up for you. So we can drop our emails. Amy, I don't know if you can you please drop our emails in the chat, and then if anything comes up for you, please message us, and we're always looking for feedback to improve these in-person CSC meetings to make it equitable for you all. Okay, I think we can transition to our next agenda item, which is the SERP implementation updates. And for this next agenda item, we'd like to take some time to review CSC members' feedback that they shared during the in-person meeting around the passenger vehicle repair and replace measure, as well as the bike lanes measure, and share some community outreach updates. The Air District will also be providing you with updates around the measures and sharing what they have been doing to address your comments, concerns, and feedback that you provided. And as a reminder, during last month, during the passenger vehicle repair and replace session, we discussed the possibility of reallocating $2 million into this measure and the different benefits that come from this fund reallocation, such as more residents being able to apply and get new vehicles. And during the bike lane session, we discussed how SERP funds for this measure will specifically fund lanes and safety features in the Stockton boundary, and how schools would be the main beneficiary of this project. During these sessions, we also took temperature checks for these measures. And today we'd like to confirm your support, answer any questions that you still have, and finalize decisions about the proposed projects. And according to your charter, if there is general consensus with CSC members, we can move forward with the proposed changes. However, if there's no CSC consensus, we can go into breakout rooms and take a formal vote to see where you are at individually. Team, is there anything else you'd like to add to this before we pass off to do the updates? All right, so with that, I will pass it to Jessica so she can take us through the SERP implementation progress and updates.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you to everyone who just provided the feedback on our meeting. I think it's just important, first of all, just thank you, Doug, for your feedback. Not only important to keep that in mind, but also important to keep just in mind all the various ways that we meet and to increase the accessibility. One of the ways we can do that is to do what we're doing today, and hopefully always make sure we are committed to reporting back what we learned so that folks that weren't able to be there you know, aren't missing out. And I just appreciate that feedback, and hopefully a little bit of our review today helps bring everyone kind of up to speed. This is our implementation update. As Laura mentioned, there's really a handful. There are 3 actually measures. Well, first, this is those of us that were on the port tour. There were many more of us at the meeting, but these are those of us that were able to join. As I mentioned, there was a tour beforehand, so thanks to you all. But these are the 3 measures that I mentioned and that Laura mentioned that we're going to talk about today. Each one of them really has an exciting update. And so each one of them, hopefully to someone mentioned earlier, I think Dr. Farrell, that there's a lot of progress that we're making right now. And these are just kind of some of the momentum that we've been able to carry since our last meeting. This is a reminder. We've talked about it the past several meetings, and we have an opportunity to allocate more funding to it. This is the passenger vehicle replacement measure. Really briefly, during the October meeting, you all supported increasing funding for the new options. So that's for folks replacing older vehicles with new plug-in hybrid or electric vehicles to increase that funding to make it $20,000 per vehicle. At the time, you did not increase funding in the SERP. So effectively, even though we increased funding, it sort of effectively decreased the number of vehicles because we didn't increase overall funding allocated. And so the discussion then was to potentially increase more funding in the future. And so that's really what the discussion was last month was, okay, the future is now, and we think this is the right time to increase the overall funding. Just as a reminder, we are finalizing the contract with Valley Can. I'll talk a little bit more about their role in a second as a reminder of like what they do and how they're involved. And we do anticipate opening that program in a couple of weeks. So this discussion is very timely. So we really are already seeing a demand in the program Valley-wide, and I'll explain what I mean by that here in a minute, and really why the increase in funding that you all seem to support is super necessary to make sure that lots of people can take advantage. So here's just a brief reminder of sort of the funding allowed under the program guidelines, and really highlighting up here, this is the big, oopsies, you can't click on them. PowerPoint also goes to the next slide. I'm highlighting up here. These are the 2 big areas that you all increased the funding. They used to be much lower for new. And this is for low-income residents for new plug-in hybrid or electric vehicles. So as a reminder, I just mentioned, and we talked about this last month, with the existing funding, about 40 to 70 residents, depending on the mix of vehicles they choose, can participate. We already have we're already seeing high interest because we do have a Valley-wide version of this program that doesn't have this high funding, and we're already seeing high interest. And typically we sign folks up through Valley Can at evening events, and typically they see about 50 applications at each event. So what we tried to say, and what hopefully a lot of you took away from our meeting in April, is that means we're pretty much going to open it, and it will likely be all the funding will be used really quickly, which is really good news, right? We want that funding to be used quickly, but we also know a lot of you are hoping to get yourselves or maybe your neighbors involved, and we want to make sure as many people as possible can take advantage. The way that the program outreach works, before I sort of get to the funding reallocation, just a quick reminder of other things we talked about during the meeting. Valley Can is our contractor, Valley Clean Air Now. They do these weeknight evening vehicle replacement workshops in the evenings that assist residents in applying to the program. And so that's what the type of workshop that I mentioned, that in these events, that 40 to 70 might be taken up in addition to the folks that have already shown interest. They looked into some of the recommended restaurants that you all shared, and I'll share on the next slide what a couple of those have been. And like I mentioned, we plan to open the program in May and start hosting these events in June, especially if we add funding. So during the table discussion, these are some of our incentives folks from the Air District. This is Laura. And these are some of our folks from Valley Clean Air now that are in the Stockton area. They're very familiar with the area. They listened to a lot of your feedback, and we looked at restaurant recommendations where they can host some of these meetings. Eddie's Pizza Cafe came up because of the type of location it is. It allows for ample parking, ample room for folks to meet. It allows folks to get food while they sign up for this program. So lots of the outreach that we want to do, we got a lot of great feedback. There were also lots of great questions that we took notes on about the types of vehicles, the funding requirements, the based on household income. Again, lots of support for Eddie's Pizza Cafe. The question we asked, and you'll see it here on the next slide, was should we add $2 million from the available $2 million you all have in your SERP to allow to increase the amount of cars that would be available in this measure. So we didn't take a formal vote because it was sort of the first you were hearing of it, but we took a temperature check and wanted to just share it with you today. Through those different rotations, we had 11 people love the idea. We had 5 people pretty much like it. We had no folks that still had concerns. And so we wanted to come today just to sort of remind folks where we are, knowing that there weren't any main concerns, and just highlight for you the main decision point that we're hoping to just even get consensus on right now. Just to confirm that there is over $2 million actually available in the school air filtration measure. As you all know, that was a measure that was no longer supported. The school district already had funding from COVID relief. You all were helpful and instrumental in voting. We took a formal vote to no longer fund that measure and sort of use it in case we found places we needed funding. And so this is a place that we all felt like, based on your feedback, we wanted to add funding. And again, based on that last slide that I just shared with you, it seemed like most folks agreed that it was a good or even great idea to shift. So I'll pause right here, and really to Laura's point, we're hoping just based on consensus, which is generally what we did last time, there, I guess, 2 ways we can go about it. One is that if maybe we can just pause, and if there are no concerns, or if someone wants to just express support, we can build consensus today and move this measure recommendation forward. I'll just update you. What that means is that we would then go to our board and let them know about your recommendation to shift fundings to support residents getting cleaner cars, to support actually more emissions reductions, right? Because the other one, while important, was an emissions reduction measure, and this is. And also just to support some of the effort to really launch a lot of incentives programs for residents. I will pause there. I do see some chat. I appreciate that folks know the difficulty of balancing the chat with presenting. So let me know if I missed any questions. But with that, maybe I'll just pause for a moment, and Laura help maybe see if there's any folks have remaining concerns, or if folks are ready to just voice support and move forward.
On the question, you're saying that the whole $2 million be put in that particular spot transferred?
Yes, this is Jessica. I believe there's 2.1 million left. So I do believe there's like a slight amount remaining. I'll double check that. We at the very onset had 2.6 million, and we've slowly used it to reallocate to other programs. Recently, we used some funding, about just over 300,000, to reallocate to commercial lawn and garden. We used some to reallocate to residential lawn and garden. And so this is sort of the third time we're taking money from the school air filtration measure. And again, we keep calling it the school air filtration measure. I just want to be clear about that. It's really a measure that you all voted to no longer fund. So it's really sort of like the available funds for funding other things in the SERP. But just we want to remind you where that funding was in the original SERP.
This is Everett Johnson, and I just wanted to say that I think that we should, go forward, because the thing is that 4 years, you're gonna have four more years of drivers plus other people growing up. We're gonna need this in our cities and community because eventually we're going to no gas. I mean, so it's got to go forward, but we have to move expeditiously and then smart.
Thanks, Everett.
This is
Jessica.
Margot. I'm
Yeah,
just
go,
gonna-
Margo.
So, this is a pot of money that we had that we could redistribute. At the beginning of our SERPs, we lost like $5 million because we made a decision and the air district decided, or the CARB decided that was that. Have we looked at the other SERPs and do others need some of this money?
This is Jessica. I think right now there's a couple of things we can continue to look, I imagine, and we can have a deeper discussion maybe at our next meeting about the overall budget. For example, there is a lot of funding in the truck replacement measure that has sort of like not moved forward very well, that we can maybe keep looking at how to support measures that are moving forward well. We also kind of, as a reminder, we have a couple of years left. And so shifting funding to support measures that are ready to go, especially resident facing measures, I think has just gone over just to support. We've done a lot of these types of shifts in other SERPs as well. It's our other like communities, I should say. But to your point, I think we will continue to have opportunity. And I don't think there will be a shortage of funding from other measures that aren't moving forward as fast to measures that maybe we will eventually see the need for more funding, if that makes sense. I don't think that this will be the only time we can shift and support.
Okay. Well, I support this if we have more funding that we're still looking at. And yes, I would like a budget review next meeting. Or whenever. I guess it should come when the fiscal year ends or something. How would you know?
We can do it anytime.
Okay, yes. I'm curious to see where our money's gone, what's gone out, and what's still left.
Yeah, we can do a nice budget review. As a reminder for folks too, I'll have Rocio drop it in the chat. We do have a pretty good tracking of what we've spent for every single measure in our tracker that we update every month. And so I'll have Rocio drop that in. So just between now and that more comprehensive update, you all can take a look.
Laura, yeah, thank you all for your comments thus far. Douglas, I do see your hand is raised.
Yes, I have a question. Yeah, I do believe the last four times that we have done this before, that when we're about to approve something, we gain someone who gains distraction. I know, but the budget's always going to be there as far as other like the air quality conditioner and the other places that are already added to the budget, and that's something that we're not ever gonna lose money. We're still printing money, So I guess that's what my concern, that these two are very important in Stockton, because it ranged from 47 no change from 40 to 7 residents, and went up to 140 to 24 Stockton residents to planted new vehicles. So that's a big difference, a big hype. So the air quality, I think that's something that is a big issue right there, as far as I'm concerned, than holding off and delaying until what the budget's right there to add 2 million to the passenger vehicle replacement, as far as that concerned, and also the bike walk. So those are the two things that I'm more concerned, that people need to move, exercise, and then we need to put more cleaner air in the vehicle as well. Those are the two things that to me is very essential in life. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Can you all hear me? Sorry, I can't tell where my mute button is. Excellent. Thank you, Douglas, and I appreciate the support. There was a great question, and just to get the exact number, I put it in the chat. There's almost 40,000. There's 38,372, a very specific number because we moved a very specific number for commercial lawn and garden. So that's what remains in the school air filtration measure. Again, as you all voted, it will not be for school air filtration, but that's what remains kind of in that bucket of funding that will still be for your SERP in whatever way we feel makes sense. I'm not seeing any opposition. I do see some folks that maybe are hesitant. So I wonder if we just move to a vote if that works for folks.
Yeah, we can move to a vote.
There's some questions in the chat about looking at the budget still, so maybe we can talk a bit more about that if people
Oh,
want.
sorry, I missed those. Sorry, I answered the one question and then didn't see the others. Thank you, Margot.
Yes, this is Laura. Yeah, I do see a comment. It says my vote is for a comprehensive budget review before officially reallocating. And then a few other folks also expressed that. I second the request for a thorough review of the budget before reallocating, and I would like a comprehensive budget as well. So it looks like we may need to go into a vote.
I was gonna say, we'll take a vote, and then if it doesn't pass, then we can certainly, I think that maybe sounds like the next step. Does that make sense?
Yes, I do see, Gloria, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I think before we take a vote, I would just like to emphasize the argument and the reason why we're positioning ourselves with this by expressing the need for a budget review before this reallocation happens. And I think there is still a broader conversation to happen about the 5-year timeline that we're coming up on with the CSC and AB617. And I feel that we're still pretty new to other conversations such as the bike path infrastructure that was presented to us during the in-person meeting. So it is, even though it sounds like a good opportunity for us to reallocate this money, it is a considerably large amount of funding for us to not do a budget review beforehand. So I think with those concerns in mind, the timeline and the other funding opportunities that we have in front of us, such as the bike path, I think I'm raising important concerns that the CSC should be aware of.
Maybe I'll go to, thank you, Gloria. First of all, I appreciate that. And I'm definitely taking notes on just in general, even when we do the budget review, kind of the timeline. I even saw something in the chat about liquidation deadlines. So good reminders. I'm wondering, maybe I'll go to our facilitation team and what makes sense to you all. I hear folks that are ready to vote, and I hear folks that are thinking that they want more time. I don't know if it makes sense to vote, but then have that next step, or if it makes sense to just pause, recognizing that we might not have time. It might be a minute, and recognizing, I guess, maybe I can be clear about, for just so folks know that, I guess if we don't take a vote, the passenger vehicle replacement measure is still going to open. It will probably be full pretty immediately. So maybe that will help folks feel, just understanding a little bit of that outreach won't probably be as comprehensive because it won't be like the bigger, broader program like we have in like for Shafter, for example, has like $6 million. Each one of them have like a larger funding. And so there's a lot more outreach that happens. So I just want folks to understand that kind of the couple of different things that can happen depending. But yeah, I see Jasmary's suggestion and I'm wondering if that makes sense.
Yeah, hi, this is Amy. Thank you, Jess, for providing that extra context and clarification. Appreciate everybody's input. As your facilitators, I just want to remind you that what's in your charter is to allow you all to engage in parallel processes, meaning that we can move forward with the vote and then you all individually as CSC members have the opportunity to express where you individually stand on any one given measure. In addition to that, it doesn't mean that you can't also request to have this conversation about budgets and a comprehensive budget review at the next meeting. So both of those things can happen at the same time. So as your facilitator, I'd like to open it up for a formal vote, just because we know that on Zoom we can hear from folks that unmute and share, or folks that are on adding to the comments, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we get a chance to hear from every single member. So in order to be equitable and respectful of everyone's membership on this community, we are going to move into a formal vote. So I will open up some breakout rooms. You will be assigned to a person in your room, and all that will happen is that you just need to say yes or no. You know, you can, yes, vote means add $2 million to the passenger vehicle replacement program, which, as a reminder, is about approximately adding 140 to 240 Stockton residents who will have now the possibility to transition to newer and cleaner vehicles. Or a vote of no is that you are voting to not move this fund. And so if you are hesitant at all, you can vote no. What we're looking for is yes or no, and there's no context that you need to provide to explain your vote. We'll come back to the main room and answer any questions that you have and help move on to the next thing. Douglas, I'm seeing your hand.
I was gonna suggest maybe next time when we have a formal vote or something like that. Okay, what do you think about the vote? I just don't want to feel like being compromised or being like somebody telling me what to vote for, or they're not certain, they're not sure. I just, if we're gonna vote, we're gonna keep to it ourselves and we vote whatever the will reveal itself at the end, instead of being. I feel like I'm being like lead onto the neck, it felt manipulated to me. So I just don't want to stop. Like, what's your opinion about what do we need this? What do you think about this? You think like that, and then everybody vote start. Oh man, okay, that makes sense. Oh, this makes sense. It get confusing afterward. You know what I mean? So instead of saying, just get to the vote, and then when everybody votes, they'll know where they're at the end anyway. So that's what I feel. Thank you.
And I have to, this is Margot, I have to agree. I just think I think we want a bigger picture. I think we want the bigger picture, see what we're looking at. Am I wrong? It seems like there's an urgency to this, and I don't think there needs to be an urgency. Am I wrong about that?
This is Jessica. Yeah, and sorry for the sense of urgency. I think a little bit came from we've heard so much focus and urgency to make sure that all of you, I think some of you can take advantage of this program and tell your neighbors about it. And because it's the smallest by like a big factor in all of the other programs we're about to launch in the SERP, we were just hoping to sort of add funding to allow you all to take advantage when we launch the program. But certainly not. That can always be a discussion later, and I don't want folks to feel like it's urgent or that you're missing out. It just might be immediately, it feels a little bit like missing out, because we do feel that the funding would be out. That's a pretty, it's a pretty small amount of funding for how much funding, 20,000 per vehicle. Like I said, it's about 40 or so vehicles. It's a pretty large boundary with lots of folks. Definitely nothing about how you all need to feel. So if folks are uncomfortable, there's no urgency on our end. We were just hoping to help you all feel like you can take advantage. I think it sounds like maybe a lot of folks had maybe feelings between the last discussion and this discussion. And so I'm wondering, Dr. Ramos, actually on the opposite, I don't want folks to feel coerced or like they're being pressured. I was wondering, Dr. Ramos, if we can actually do what Jazzy suggested and this sounds maybe silly, but a vote on if we should vote. I don't know if that's maybe out of procedure, but I also don't want folks, to your point, to feel like they're not bringing up, maybe there are plenty of folks that are ready to vote, but I don't want them to feel like they can't raise their voice and say that. But I'll go to Cynthia first and see how she feels.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm up for a vote to decide if we vote. But to add a little bit of the context here are we on like a timeline with Valley Can? Like, what do they need in order to move forward with the additional funding? I think that might also help to some of the urgency questions here. But yeah, I think some folks in the chat were saying that some of them don't see an urgency. So yeah, I think based on the liquidation, maybe we need some conversation on those liquidation deadlines to kind of also give some context on the urgency of moving some of the funding around. But
Oh, sorry.
sorry, I accidentally pressed mute. Yeah, but I'm in favor of a full comprehensive like review and remind us of the liquidation deadlines and all that good stuff, as it seems that we're about at a point where we're going to need to be reallocating a lot of money based on what you were saying, the different measures that aren't getting as much attention.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to me. And maybe just to not belabor the point, if that's okay, Dr. Ramos, that we, I know it seems a little silly, but it might help folks feel more comfortable.
Hi, this is Amy. So what you are proposing, Jess, is that the committee vote on whether or not you're ready to vote? Okay, well, so just as a reminder, in your charter, when you all discussed how to proceed with voting, you all wanted to have an opportunity to just cast a vote when there was a discrepancy in this public space. So based on your request, we're going to not use that recommended procedure that you all voted on at some point. I'm just here as a reminder, as a messenger for tonight. So let me open up the rooms, and a yes means yes, I'm ready to engage in a voting process, and a no means I am not ready to vote on this measure. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the rooms.
Thank you,
And
Amy. Before you open up your rooms, just want to let AD folk know, Cass, Rocio, and Heather, you will be placed in a breakout room to gather that yes or no, whether they're ready to vote or not.
okay. All right, here we go. Ned, did you get a room? I'm still seeing you, Ned. And Nate, you should also be, let's see here, Nate, let me just go back. You should have a ping. Okay, Nate, did you? Welcome back, those of you who already voted. Welcome back to those of you who voted. I see a few folks are still in the rooms, so we'll be back momentarily. This is Amy, want to make sure that everyone who is a CSC member had an opportunity to go to one of the breakout rooms and cast your vote. If you did not, please raise your hand. Thank you for returning back. I'm seeing A couple folks are still in the rooms. Okay, so as a reminder, when we go to a vote, we are looking for a yes or a no, in this case, to formally cast a vote. I'm going to go ahead and close the rooms. And when you go to a vote, it is always important to just cast your vote. And if there's more questions or comments to be had, to have that in the main room so that all the CSC can benefit from that conversation and can benefit from the answers to the questions that were asked. So welcome back, folks. I see people trickling in back from the rooms. Hi, this is Amy Ramos. I'm looking to see, I think we only need Nate back. Still not seeing Nate. Oh, there we are. Welcome back. This is Amy Ramos, and I am now tallying up the votes on people who said that they were ready to go for a vote, and the people who are not ready to vote. And it looks like the majority are ready to go for a vote. So we had 9 yeses and 6 nos. So at this time, based on how the charter was designed with your input, you are ready to go into a formal vote. So Jessica Olson, if you could please pull up that slide so that folks know what they are voting for. We'll go ahead and repeat this again. Given that you all voted to go for a vote, we will do that just now. And so I'm going to put you back in that same breakout room. You'll get a request from me on Zoom to go back into the voting room. And Heather, Cass, Laura, when you go into the rooms, please tally up the votes by indicating next to the person's name, yes, to allocate $2 million to passenger vehicle replacement, or no, to not add those $2 million. So at this time, I'm going to open the rooms back again, and you will be able to cast your vote. All right, here we go. This is Amy Ramos. Good evening, everyone. And Cynthia, are you abstaining from the vote?
I didn't get the notification. Can you put me in a room, please? Sorry.
Yes, ma'am. I thought you were rejecting me. I see you. I pinged you again. There we go. Hi, everyone. This is Amy Ramos. And in this room right now, we should only have folks that are not voting members of the CSC. So as you can see, we have agency folks here, and everyone else is in a breakout room, a virtual breakout room, casting their vote to either yes, add the $2 million to passenger vehicle replacement, or not add them. So we will return to our meeting momentarily. See, folks are coming back. As you come back, we will start the conversation where we left off. This is Amy. I am seeing that we have a couple people who are still casting their vote. I want to take a moment to just make sure that our settings are correct for our interpretation. Douglas, can you see our translator's spotlight for you? On my end, I see it. Okay.
Okay, Amy, interpreter will leave you alone. Sorry. I'm looking at the YouTube feed. There's this Zoom room and then there's the YouTube. And when the slide is up, it only anyway. That's for another time. Sorry, I'll leave you alone.
No. It makes sense. For some reason, this is Amy again. Apologies as we're working through this technology. In the Zoom update today, I am not seeing both of you the spotlight on both of you when you interpret.
Oh, okay. I'll leave you alone. Sorry.
Okay.
Because I don't know how to fix it. Otherwise, I'd help.
But in this meeting, Douglas, you can see the translation. So that's what matters right now.
This is Laura. It looks like everyone is back, and it looks like folks casted their vote. Our vote, we tallied 10 yeses and 5 no. So according to your charter, as Amy has mentioned, we will move forward with moving the funds. And Jessica, I know you mentioned you have to present. Thank you for resharing the screen. So the 2 million available from school air filtration. With the yes, it means that you will add that to the passenger vehicle repair and replace. So that means that approximately 140 to 240 Stockton residents will transition to newer, cleaner vehicles. And then we have noted that folks want that budget review, and we noted that in the action items for Air District to present that budget review in upcoming meeting.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you all. I appreciate the democratic process. And I also just appreciate the feedback. I think we'll try to just be clearer. We are definitely, it is, up to you all to help support the shifting of funds. We were just hoping to make clear why we were making this decision. So I appreciate the feedback and support, and definitely as was mentioned by Cynthia, I think it's just a good reminder. We'll probably be shifting funds more than this one time, right? We've already done it 3 times, I think, or maybe a couple more. in the past few years. And so just to make it clearer and clearer what the budget is, and I appreciate the feedback. We'll definitely do that presentation next time. Maybe just to set us up for this discussion, we have a really great discussion after this. I wonder if we'll just transition this piece to more of an informational update based on a lot of great questions. We're not trying to make a decision on this one today, unless of course, you all that want to make a decision. But for this particular piece, I'll just remind you all, we had another discussion breakout table at our in-person meeting, and here's a summary of what happened. One of your measures is there's 500,000 allocated for bike lane projects, and we worked with the city of Stockton to work on a bigger project that they have called Stockton Safe Routes to School Safety and Connectivity Improvements Project. That is not a short name, so I appreciate our interpreters helping with that. The project description is for installation of bike lanes near several of the elementary, middle, and high schools in the area. And we want to increase safety and modes of transportation, of course, being sustainable and reducing air pollution created by cars. And so the opportunity is to leverage, meaning the city is coming with a lot of funding, but you have an opportunity to sort of help the project move forward by adding our funding to a lot of this project, which is going to add a lot of different pieces. And you all had a lot of great feedback and questions at the last meeting. So I'll just kind of remind you where some of the locations will be. That green part is where the bike lanes are supposed to be. And we do have City of Stockton folks if they're detailed questions. But as a reminder, there are a lot of schools that would be interconnected because of this project, which was the highlight, I think, for a lot of you. This is it's kind of hard to see, but it's really just sort of to illustrate all the different types of bike lanes in the city of Stockton. And there's some existing bike lanes, but also proposed facilities per their bike plan. And some of the questions that you all had that we'll show on the next slide as to like, how does this all interact? What are the safety features? And also like, what is the funding being used for? What is the city's overall project budget? So we do have here the estimate for the bike lane installation includes removal and installation of striping, crack and slurry sealing, which is sort of like sealing the pavement or the road itself to like make it smoother and safer for bikes to transit. And then also, of course, creating the lane itself. And then these are sort of the different, as you can see, sort of 3 different locations on here, and they each have a large budget, and your SERP would help augment this whole project and make sure that the project can move forward like kind of with your match funding. This is typically kind of how these types of projects work actually, is that there's like, we hope that the city also comes up with their funding to make the project even bigger, which is really what's happened here today. So this is what would happen if we were to sort of move forward in the next few meetings with you all, is that we would go to our governing board to get approval, just like I mentioned for the other project. We would work with the city, and then they could start in the summer. But again, certainly just looking for any other questions, because we have the city of Stockton here today that you all have. I want to remind you that we had this at the table. There were some folks that still had concerns. It definitely wasn't as maybe supported to move forward as maybe our last measure was. And maybe for the same questions you all just posed to me, right? Maybe it's a budget question, maybe it's questions about the bike lane project itself. So we tried to answer a few of them today, a little bit of how the current bike lanes projects connect to the new project. So I can certainly go back to that map and pass to the city of Stockton. There are also more suggestions for the city to do more outreach and also to prioritize certain types of lanes, which are level 4. That includes like physical barrier, just as a recommendation for overall, I think, projects in the city of Stockton area. And then finally, there was a question about how the CERT funds would be leveraged with city funds, which was a little bit of what we just spoke about just now. So maybe I'll pause there. The next is just a quick update. I'll pause there and see if there are other, like, in order to make a kind of consensus and support for moving forward with supporting this project, maybe I'll just pause and see what other concerns or questions folks have, or what other information you all feel like you'll need in order to make, a formal support. I saw Douglas raise his hand first and then Mary Elizabeth.
Yes, with the budget I see the meeting, are there the government board that approved this measurement that you are explaining to me, explaining to us?
This is Jessica. I was mentioning that our board, the Air District Board, would have to approve the funding for this project. But I think you're asking, like, is there another board that's already approved? Are you talking about like maybe the city?
In the picture on in your presentation,
This picture right here. This is a picture, thank you, Douglas, of us at the meeting in person in April. So this is these are two employees from the city of Stockton. This is Stephanie. This is Vanessa with Harder & Company. These are two district employees as well. And these are the CSC members that were talking about this project in detail with the city.
Okay, they said loved it, liked it, still have concern. And the action item, it has some kind of written it that probably the people in the picture approved it, of the interest of that the planning of the bike lane in the city in the South Stockton area are already been planted, already been funded, allocated already, or we're going to expect more of it, more money into the fund?
This is Jessica. Great point. None of this is adding more money. This is not a shift in our budget. You all have 500,000, and this is an opportunity to work with the city to meet, like to have the city come to the table with their project and have us make sure that we are a part of that project. That they can, together with the CERT funding, move this big project forward that connects all of the schools. And so the like it, love it.
Okay.
9 people loved it. 4 people liked it. And there were 3 folks that had concerns. And I think some of them are here right now, maybe to comment. So I wonder, maybe
last question. And so you just, at the end, you said that if this was voted today, if this program will be worked on in this year during the summertime, during the month of this year, the 24th, 2000.
This is Jessica. If there's a decision, it does not have to be, I'm not trying to pressure folks. I want to make sure that that's clear. If there's a decision today or at the next meeting or in between, that would help position the city to move forward sooner, like the summer is what we've been told.
Don't answer. Okay, thank you.
And Mary Elizabeth and then Cynthia.
I went really fast on that slide where these were located, and it seems that one of those is already planned and out for bid. And so, you know, we had quite a bit of concerns on certain items to make sure that we weren't displacing already committed funds. And so I'm just a little bit concerned about that. You know, we didn't actually see any formal written material describing this plan and, you know, more details about where the funding is already existing, what are shortfalls, what other funds the city has available. And I saw, you know, some action items there, and I didn't see any response to those action items that you listed on the poster with the votes. Yeah, those action items there. So I didn't see that, and so for those reasons, I am not in support at this time.
Thank you, Mary. I'll let Cynthia go, and then maybe I have a couple just kind of follow-ups that we can do and move forward. Go ahead, Cynthia, please.
Yeah, thanks. Having a kind of logistical question. So if we were hypothetically to approve this, whenever we do, would we enter an MOU with the city to make sure that this committee is able to give meaningful input into the program? Just kind of curious about how that dynamic would work. Because
Mm,
I know there's been a history of amongst the CSCs where sometimes throughout the valley we haven't been able to come to some like agreement with
mm,
other
mhm,
entities.
mhm.
So just kind of curious on if y'all have found a solution towards that or what the plan is there.
Great question. Maybe I'll answer your question and then I have just a follow-up, I think, for Mary. Is that anytime we do projects with any entity, including the city, we do have like a financial agreement. And as a part of that agreement, we outline exactly what the project is. So that's sort of what this is that pre-work to say this is what we all want to support in that project if we're going to use 617 funds. And then that's the agreement they enter into, is to do exactly what that project is that we outlined. So that is a financial agreement. They have to do the work and then they get reimbursed. So there is verification that they, do the work as is outlined in the project plan, through CARB and through your SERP, and as is outlined in kind of our support for that funding. So I hope that helps answer that question. To Mary's question, I do want to follow up a little bit, and maybe because we have the city on the line, I know we don't have a lot of time left in the meeting, but I wonder if we can, whether it's in the chat or just any other follow-up questions. I see these action items. Maybe we can also just make sure, I'm going to go through right now as we hear Hector's question to see if we can get a direct response to some of these actions, just so that you all have that information as the follow-up to think about. And then I'll see Hector and Jazz, Marie, or Bobby.
Hi, this is Hector. So one of my questions is, the concerns is, it's two-part. One is we don't have an idea as far as what are projected, how it's going to lower emissions in our, if we do approve this project. And two, is this the best use for our funds? Is this more infrastructure as opposed to still, the purpose of the SERP, which is emissions reductions? Is that, as a secondary, as emission reductions, as more people bike and use the roads or bike or walk, is the primary purpose of this funding more infrastructure build out, as opposed to what we're looking to do to actually reduce emissions? So without having the numbers on what they think as far as how much they believe emissions are going to be reduced by this project, and then the agreement that this is more of an, the discussion as far as, is this emissions reductions or is this infrastructure? That's my concern. So
Thank you,
right now
Hector.
I'm at a no.
Yeah, that's a great point, and something we can make sure that we follow up on is there. Actually, when we fund these projects, we also ask those same questions, Hector. It's in your SERP. If the goal is to be an emissions reduction measure to reduce vehicle trips. And so there is a way, there's a methodology that CARB allows us to use to estimate that, and that's something we'll work on with the city. So that's a great point. And then Jazzy or Bobby, I'm not sure which one.
Hi, this is Jazzy. I just wanted to ask the question I put in the chat. I missed the schools that it was connecting.
Oh, yep.
Beyond Edison and Dolores Huerta Elementary, what other schools in the AB617 area is it connecting? Because I noticed at least 3 of those were. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Outside the boundary.
Yes, yeah. So it's a little bit beyond, obviously the boundary itself is something that we all created together. But not every project that the city does, right? They're trying to connect different parts of like the north to the center part of the Stockton area. So this is just that list of schools, just to help you. The Van Buren Elementary School, I think maybe is the additional one that you were looking at. I think you said 3. I believe that, and I don't know if that AG Spanos Elementary School is also, but I believe it's also in the boundary.
Yes, it's just downtown.
Thank you.
Hey guys, this is Even Marcelo with City of Stockton. I can answer that question if I'm allowed to, if I'm allowed now. I forgot to turn on my camera. I apologize. So we're looking at the green lights, or I'm sorry, green lines. Those those lines are our bike lanes. And that's what we're talking about here is the installation of bike lanes.
Right, and I think Jazzy was just trying to point out that of the list of locations, she was just we were trying to enumerate together. I think there are 4, these are the 4 locations that are within the boundary that are the schools that are being supported by this. That was her question. So I think we answered it.
Okay.
Right? Awesome.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Jazzy. I see Doug's hand, and then I wonder if there's other additional questions, we can put them in the chat. Move on and kind of use this to support a further discussion.
This is a follow-up with SB, with that thing. That's a good point. Is the bike pad, is it going to be joined with a project with the electrical bike together? Is that, or that's going to be forbidden from using that path if you have an electrical bike as well? That's a good question as well. You know, because they consider a mobile bike, but it's not a manual bike. Is there going to be any rule or policy about that also against it or for it as a participate in the bike lane as well? That's my question.
Thanks, Doug. So you're asking if the bike lanes allow for the electric bike? The answer is yes.
Oh, awesome. So as far as I'm concerned, so people who have disability as well as the normal people, because there's no what's the size of electrical bike. Because I see different I think bikes that are small and used, but it could, use a lot of room in the bike path. I'd like to know how big is the bike path from length, as far as my concern is,
The width size of the bike facilities that are going to be installed here is from anywhere from 5 feet to 8 feet.
Okay, that's enough room for 8 feet. Okay, can you make it a standard of 8 feet, 8 instead of 5? Because 5 is just to be too narrow for electrical and regular people who ride bike as well. You know what I mean?
So there's also 2 classification of bikes that we're installing along this corridor. One of them is our type 2 or class 2, where we have a stripe buffered, and class 4 where we have a actual infrastructure or a buffered physical buffered that separate the cars from the bicycle. And we do have pictures of that in our last meeting. I don't know if we have it here that we can share.
Okay. Now, one last thing before I forget, as far as my concern, also I know I've seen people who have old bike like moped. They have pedal and everything to consider a motorbike. Okay, so that's gonna be forbidden off the bike path as well or not? That's what it's asking.
No, it doesn't forbid any bikes using that bike facility. Our California Vehicle Code sees all bicycles as another vehicle. So even though you are using a bike, you still have to follow the same regulation as cars. You were
right.
That means if you have to stop on the red, you stop on the red.
I see. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thanks for the clarification.
And then on those outstanding items that we need to get back to you guys, if the time allows, I can answer those, or my team can answer those.
That would be great. That's what I was going to suggest. Thank you.
Okay. Can someone read that first item? Is that with flu or with?
Yeah, so the first I believe is, and I'm just going to prove it. The ask was, I think, for an existing bike lane map.
Okay.
So that's what we have here, but I wonder, maybe just I'll get to, I think, a couple of the other items. I think folks were wondering kind of the city, I just said city will note importance of bike lanes / to place or a place to store bikes as well.
Yes, I remember that. That is it came from Mary Elizabeth relating to a project here, which is the new city hall. It includes bike racks now, and I don't know. I think she indicated that initially when it was put out to bid, it did not include the bike racks. I was not able to confirm that with the project manager. But it is currently includes bike racks.
Thank you. I think there's just also a wondering, like, is this, I think Mary Elizabeth's point earlier was that there are, I think, a variety of different pieces to this project, and one of them maybe seems to already have like gone out to bid. Sort of what is the intent with that $500,000 and what is sort of the necessity, I think, of it? And maybe I'll just kind of reframe just so everyone knows, and Hector, you brought this up. This is part of the original SERP that you all allocated to bike paths. So this isn't a new thing. We're just trying to find a project that fits the bike path money. So I definitely want to make that clear. It's part of the SERP. But even if you could just describe a little bit of like the 500,000, Mary Elizabeth was wondering, is it just displacing existing money that would have otherwise just been used from like a different pot of funding, or is this like a necessary piece of moving the project forward?
So for this specific project that we have, it is funded by the state and federal, and we have to compete for these grants, which is highway safety and also active transportation. They have different requirements, and as I said, it's competitive. We have to score well, and we are awarded. We are fortunate to get the funding for this. But still, we are short in funding in about 700 grand, and we are actively, as we speak, seeking funding opportunities. It is out for bid for construction, and we do have a backup plan to supplement any shortfall of funds with our Measure K funding. If we can get this $500,000, 500K, that this AB617 is being offered, then it will definitely help this project, and we can utilize the Measure K that we would use for this project to other projects. As you shared earlier, there are other projects relating to bike facilities that we're working on.
Thank you. And then I just saw there are a couple of just other questions. I wonder, for the sake of time, a few of these, Dr. Ramos, and even if you're open to it, we'll just send the remaining questions that I think we would love to kind of package up for people and help answer, so folks feel comfortable, supporting this project at a future time. I don't think today feels like the day.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I do want to point out that it is infrastructure that we're trying to install citywide. This is really to have a shift from having a car-centric mentality to including all modes of travel, walkability and bikeability, and which helps not just the health of the community, and also helps the environment by reducing VMT and also transportation emission.
That's great. And I wonder if at the next meeting, maybe you and I can work together to get those numbers to the emissions reductions.
Yes. Yeah, we can definitely work on the numbers.
Yeah, that way folks kind of really feel that impact. All right. I do have another SERP update that I think you all would like, if you'll indulge me really briefly. And then maybe I'll just, Dr. Ramos and Laura will probably make this sound a little way better, but it feels like we're not going to make our next part of our meeting, but it also feels like the discussion was really rich and we didn't want to stop it. So after I present this, we can talk a little bit about next steps for the other part of the meeting. We are scheduling, and you should see very shortly in your inbox an invitation to sign up for an event on May 23rd It is a Thursday night that we are going to host in the late afternoon of 4, maybe a little bit before 4. We're trying to figure that out exact time to 6 p.m. 3. Thank you, Heather. 3 to 6 p.m. And we're just really excited. I don't know if Cass wants to provide a little bit more details here, but I just want to let you know that a vendor has been selected. We're going to work on hosting a big event in your area, and definitely look out from all of us. And huge, I just want to acknowledge Cassandra Melching, who a lot of you know from our outreach subcommittee, certainly, for getting all of this pulled together so quickly for you all. So we're really excited and are looking forward to seeing you that day. I don't know if I missed anything, Cass or Heather.
Thank you. This is Heather. Appreciate the shout out, Jess, for the team and our work. We are very excited. Wanted to make sure the committee knows we are processing, finalizing flyer information and the actual website where you can where the public can reserve their mower. So I'm hoping within the next couple days, you'll see that in your email as we button up all the details behind the scenes. I know SB asked me in my breakout room for the flyer, and lots of people are starting to, get excited. So we will have that to you very soon.
Who is the vendor? Where will this be?
This is Heather again. Hi, Margot. The vendor is Steel.
And it will be at the Fremont Plaza. What is it? Sorry.
Hi, Fremont Plaza. Fremont Plaza Hardware. It's an Ace Hardware in Stockton.
Yahoo!
Yeah. Yes, we agree.
Awesome. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. More details to come, but thank you for indulging. And also thank you for the rich conversation. This was great feedback for all of the different measures.
This is Amy. Thank you so much, Air District, for providing us with that update and for the rich discussion. So given that folks had a lot of really good questions, and I'm still seeing a lot more questions, keep them coming, Mary Elizabeth. Appreciate all the questions that you're adding in the chat. What we are going to do for this agenda item is take all the questions that you all had that you voiced aloud and that you added in the chat, put them together for the Air District to then come back to the next meeting by addressing those questions with answers and providing this measure as an agenda item for our next meeting. So if you have more questions as we continue moving on, please feel free to add them to the chat. As Jessica from the Air District shared previously, given that our rich discussion took us over time, it is now 6:43 p.m. And sorry for the loud sound, there's a helicopter going over my house now. We are going to, instead of rushing through the quarterly air monitoring update that Brad from the Air District was going to present, we're going to push that to the June meeting so that you all can have ample time to process the data, to review the data, to think about what the data mean and what does that tell you about the impact of the work that you all are doing in the Stockton community. So I think the action item that I will propose to the CSC is, given that the presentation, the camp presentation, is already available to you and on the website, I encourage all CSC members and the public and folks that are here today to download the presentation, take a look at it, and come ready to engage with that presentation at the June meeting. So with that said, if it's okay with you all, we'd like to transition to our general standing updates and give everyone an opportunity to provide the CSC with some updates. I am looking at the screen here and I am looking for CARB representatives. I am not seeing Kyle. Do folks see Kyle?
Hi, I'm Cynthia Ortiz here. I'm covering for Kyle. He's on vacation.
Thank you, Cynthia. I didn't recognize you. Any updates from CARB that the CSC should be aware of?
Not at the moment, no. We don't have any anything to share. Thank you though.
All right, thanks, Cynthia. Next time, come with some updates, please. We are waiting for CARB.
I will.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, I do know that the Air District has some exciting updates to share, general updates that are not about SERP. So I'm going to pass it back to Jessica from the Air District to give us some updates.
This is Jessica. I am so excited to let you all know, hopefully, most of you, especially if you're on our CSC, got an email to invite you to register for our Community Clean Air Day. So that is happening on June 22nd. It is a Saturday. It is happening in sort of the middle of the day. We're hoping to start 9:30, be over just right at 3, and we are offering to provide a bus for folks from Stockton to meet us there. So if you are able or you're interested in joining us, please start taking a look at that registration form. Submit it if you plan to go. It asks you a lot of questions about what preferences about your attendance, but also whether or not you'll need that accommodation to get there. I also would like to share with you, we'll share it also again a little bit later in an email, I think, to all of the CSCs, but I'm also going to share with you, and I'll drop in the chat, the website for our Community Clean Air Day. We have a specific website for it that will start to, you'll start to see more information there. This website you can share with your friends and neighbors and family. The email you got was like a very specific code just for you. But if you go to this website, it actually has a link to the form to register, and you can invite your neighbors or anyone else you think might benefit from meeting other 617 communities from across the valley, to meeting with EPA and CARB and some of the kind of clean air technology retailers rather that we have. And also just to connect with other community members that aren't a part of 617, I think would be really beneficial. So we have some really great lineups of folks that are helping us create this event, and we're just really grateful for all of their support and really eager for you all to join us. So thank you, Amy, for that time, and thank you all. Hopefully we can see a lot of you there. And if you've never met someone on the CSC from Arvin, which is the furthest CSC in the valley away from you all, this would be the time. We know a lot of folks from there will join us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jess. This is Amy. Now I'm looking for Jeff. I think he's still over at the Port of Stockton enjoying that beautiful view that he gave us a preview to last time. I'm not seeing Jeff here. Right? All right, well, and so in that case, I'm going to transition to another general update regarding all of the subcommittees. I know that you all have been super active and participating in several subcommittees. So I do know that for the next meeting, we are thinking about having space to hear more comprehensive updates from the subcommittees. I think I'm going to pass it to Stephanie, or to, sorry, out of habit, I'm looking for Stephanie too. Pass it to Jessica or Rocio to tell us a little bit about what they're thinking in terms of having comprehensive updates from all the subcommittees in our June meeting.
I think given all of the great topics we had today, I don't know that that makes sense any longer, but I wonder if we say that the following meeting, which just as an announcement, I think most of you know, we will not have a July meeting because it always ends up, I think it's like the day before July 4th this year. So that the following meeting, not our June meeting, will probably be a big comprehensive subcommittee update meeting. And so I'll just announce that I appreciate all of the support so far. We've had a lot of subcommittees kick off recently, and we have a few more in tow here. So thank you for that. And we look forward to meeting with you and for having our next meeting. I think Dr. Ramos, given all the other things that we sort of pushed forward, we'll save our next meeting for more of a budget discussion and follow-up.
Great, thank you, Jess. This is Amy. It sounds like we already have a packed agenda for our next meeting. At this time, I want to make some space to hear any other general updates. I know other agencies are here, and we may not have scheduled time to have you give an update. But if our agency folks have some updates now, this would be the time to share before we wrap up the meeting for tonight. Mary Elizabeth?
Yes, I wondered if Rosiccio could put in the chat the information about how to find the Stockton Unified Purple Air Monitoring daily data. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Elizabeth. Rocio, did you capture that? Are you able to put that in the chat?
I did. Thank you, Mary Elizabeth. It's on the action items as well, but let me drop that link in the chat in case folks want to take a look at that.
Thank you for making that a little bit easier. And I'm also seeing from Mary Elizabeth that she can't open the link, the air monitoring link. Mary Elizabeth, were you able to open that?
No, it's just, and I tried 3 times. It's like it's not even turning. It just goes to a blank page.
Okay, let me try on my end just in case there's a weird situation. And it looks like the link is working for me. It is a PDF and it's a pretty large PDF. So maybe you need to give it some time.
Maybe. Thank you.
Okay, if you could try it, and so that before we sign off.
That's okay. If you can do it, I can do it. Thank you.
There we go. I love the spirit. But in any case, if you can't do it before the end of the meeting, please do stay on and we can troubleshoot that. All right. Well, with that said, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping up the meeting. Laura, if you could show us our dates for our next series of meetings. So as you all heard loud and clear, we have plenty of agenda items for our June meeting. So given that we have already an agenda, we will not be having an agenda setting meeting before the June meeting. Also, in addition to that, I want to remind folks that in the last year and a half, you all have been allocating about 20 minutes or so to a quarterly meeting within the regularly scheduled CSC meeting for you all to provide your insights and recommendations on topics that should be included as agenda items. And during those times, you're able to set the agenda for the entire quarter. So for example, the last time we did this was in November of 2023. And during that meeting, we then had all of the agenda items set for January, February, March, and April. And now we've wrapped up those topics. However, we haven't finished some of them, so they will be part of the June meeting. We do expect that in the future, I guess it would be the August meeting when we talk about the subcommittee updates, that we'll also have some time for you all to provide some recommendations on agenda items. Air District, I'm not sure if you have anything else to add regarding the agenda setting meetings, but just wanted to remind folks of the process that we've used in the past. I'm seeing some head noddings. Okay, so our formal next meeting will be on Wednesday, June 5th at the same time. And in addition to that meeting, you will be receiving a follow-up email with the answers to the questions that you all proposed today. And then you'll also have an opportunity to see a draft of the agenda. If you have any insights or recommendations when you see that draft, please do send your feedback to the Air District. And I'll do a shameless plug to get a community co-host. So if you're interested in being a co-host, please do reach out to the Air District or to us, and we'll be happy to include you as part of the process. So at this time, I'd love to just walk us through our action items for tonight. So I'm going to pass it to Laura to read the action items. As you know, we write these in real time. So if there's anything missing that you would like to see represented here, please feel free to raise your hand or add your comments in the chat. Laura?
Thank you, Amy. This is Laura. So we have a few action items noted down, as Amy mentioned. Our first one is to send Douglas meeting materials from April CSC meeting, and that will be Carter & Company doing that. Our second one is for the Air District to present comprehensive CERT budget review in the June CSC meeting. So it'll be the Air District to create a Q&A sheet along with City of Stockton to answer CSC members' questions around the bike lane measure. So that will be Air District and City of Stockton working together. And then the fourth and last action item we captured is for CSC members to view the camp presentation that the Air District sent and be ready to engage in the June meeting. So that will be the CSC members. I do see a question. Oh no, no questions in the chat. Back to you,
Elizabeth.
Hi. Also, I had a another topic regarding the emissions. So I was wondering if we could have an update on the emissions because it talks in there about an annual update. And also, I think that it would be very good if when we get that we can have a little bit of time to go through those calculations and those numbers that were used for that were assumptions that were incorporated in those numbers. So, when I look at those numbers now, having done, quite a bit more work in terms of reviewing materials, I'm just wondering, exactly where those numbers come from and how actually calculated. Thank you.
This is Jessica. We can always make sure to have, yeah, I think that's just a good reminder to always have the emissions reductions with the budget. So that's a good reminder and we'll do that.
I just want to follow up. I put the link in there. There's an emission allocation. And so I put the link in there, specifically where to find that information. And so as part of the SERP is one of the appendixes in the SERP.
The source apportionment appendix.
Yes, thank
Got
you.
it. Thank you.
Yes.
This is Amy. Thank you so much, Mary Elizabeth. And I'm glad they were able to open the document. And I also want to bring your attention, Mary Elizabeth, to the Purple Air Monitors link that Rocio posted in the chat. So at this time, we'd like to invite the public to present any questions that you may have. We have a few minutes that are available for any public comment.
I'd just like to say that I enjoyed the meeting and I enjoyed the process and just working with you guys. We're growing. So that's what growth is all about. And I just wanted to say this one thing. I am enjoying this signer. Yeah, you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for bearing with us with technology. I've been trying to spotlight the signer the whole time and it's been back and forth with that process. And thank you, Douglas, for understanding. All right. Well, thank you so much. This wraps up our meeting for tonight. I really appreciate everyone. It was such a privilege to see you all in person. I hope you have a wonderful evening and we will see each other June 5th. Bye now.
everyone. Thank you.
Bye.